What's up? Welcome. Late Night HXC episode number 2. Today's question of the day is, what is that one popular band that you were never able to get into? For me, it's probably Memphis May Fire. I never quite got into them back in the day, and the current music is good, but I don't really connect with it at all. But what about you? What is that one band that everybody likes that you're like, it's alright? Today's second episode of Late Night HXC is only happening because of your likes, comments, and shares. You showed me unbelievable amount of support on the first episode, and I really truly appreciate it. So let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it going. I'll try my best to keep these as consistent as possible. No promises, these are pretty tough to put together. Nonetheless, today is super exciting because we're talking about a lot of news, we're talking about a lot of releases, and most importantly, we're talking to some cool guests later on in the video, Floya. So let's start rolling. Let's start going. Let's see what we got this week. The Devil Wears Prada announced a deluxe edition of Color Decay. Your boy is happy because your boy is a fanboy. Yesterday, the band has dropped a new music video and a song called Reaching, and I've reacted to it on my YouTube already, so if you want to see that, check it out on the YouTube channel already. Besides that, we'll be getting another new track called Ignorance, 4 more acoustic tracks, which is super exciting, 2 live tracks, and 2 remixes. Coming in at 22 tracks total, this deluxe is going to be something I'm going to be super excited for this year. Usually deluxes are like, not super interesting, but we get 2 new tracks, and we get some acoustics, and we get some remixes. I'm all in. More Prada is always good with me. In other news, Invent Animate absolutely fucks. That's it. That's the news. Let's move on. Crystal Lake has announced a new vocalist. Following the auditions, it's going to be John Robert Santorino, formerly from The Last 10 Seconds of Life. This is very exciting news since the band has not quite been full for quite a while now following Rio's departure from the band, who now has his own project called Gnosis. And so it's extremely exciting to see the band back in full shape with the vocalist, ready to possibly go back in the studio and write something. As for the new guy, he sounds absolutely ridiculous. I mean, listen to this. You know he's round his life, we're trapped inside. All the best to Crystal Lake and Robert, and I can't wait to hear that new material. Hopefully later this year. I don't know. We'll see. Avenged Sevenfold has announced their comeback to music after almost 7 long years since they staged their last album. They've announced a new one called Life is But a Dream. Gonna be dropping on us on June 2nd, and honestly, I'm happy to see them back. Avenged Sevenfold has been a massive band in this whole metalcore / metal scene, so it's good to see them back. Like I said, it's been almost 7 years, and it's nice to know they're not quite done with us yet. As for the new song, Nobody, I've heard some things about it. I'm gonna reserve my judgment till tomorrow when I'm gonna be checking this song out live on stream. So if you want to see that, check us out. If you already heard it, let me know in the comments what I should expect. r/metal memes is still not funny. Spiritbox have officially withdrew from the Popular Monstour with Falling in Reverse, following the absolute one of the stinkiest shitstorms on Twitter. And let me tell you, the Twitter for the last couple of weeks has been absolutely a hellhole in metalcore community, and it absolutely sucks. Radke has been particularly insane, threatening people as usual, sending a hate mob towards our beloved Andy Cizek of Monuments and many other bands. He's in like 100 bands now, for merely retweeting someone's allegation against Radke. Seriously? I'm not gonna get too much into it. In fact, I don't really want to talk about drama on this show, so this is probably the last time you'll hear me talk about Ronnie Radke. I've muted the guy on Twitter. He's just absolutely annoying to witness. Now let's end on something positive. Finalists announced for the yearly Heavy Metal Music Awards. Annual community vote is now live, and it's featuring some interesting, to say the least, nominees. But I think it's a fun way to look back on the year that passed and kind of pick and choose your favorite best artists, music, albums, stuff like that. I'm gonna be doing that live tomorrow on stream, so check in. Let's see how my horrible takes stack up to your horrible takes. In the meantime, you can place your own voice at vote.heavymusicawards.com. Between Buried and Me is back to North America with Thank You Scientist and Rivers of Nile. That's a pretty cool lineup. And let's close off with a freshly announced Australian tour by Thornhill called Dress to Kill. It's going to feature Young Lions, Inertia, and Tapestry. It's going to happen across May and June in Australia. So if you're Australian, I'm jealous, but hope you have fun. Oh my God, releases this week. As usual, let's start off with albums. Here are the albums of this week. Invent Animate, of course. Oh my God. Chelsea Grin, Gideon. Oh my God. Darknet. Highly recommend you check it out. More on that later. Overall, a pretty stacked album release weekend. So, yeah, there you go. These are the albums. On the EP side, we also got a couple this week, unlike last week when we only got one, so check any of these out. I'm sure these are all pretty cool. And of course, the singles. Oh my God, look at all these singles. Of course, the aforementioned The Devil Wears Prada and Avenged Sevenfold new tracks. We also got a new Bury Tomorrow track. Atina, a wildcard of last week. The Ongoing Concept, Alt Salosis. A lot of incredible songs this week. And a lot of these songs that you see on this list, I'm going to be checking out live tomorrow, so check into the live stream and, you know, have fun with all these. This is a fire week, so check these out. These are the new singles. All right, anyway. Darknet. Darknet is my wildcard pick of the week. These guys have been a true discovery for me this year through live streams and through your suggestions. And they've just been killing it with the specific style that I was always looking for. A nice electronic fusion between nu metal and metalcore. If you're just like me and you're after that kind of sound, I absolutely recommend you check them out. I recommend starting with a song called IDGAF. It's a pretty energetic and fun track, to say the least. But check them out, throw down, mosh in your room, do whatever you want. These guys are energetic as hell. Darknet, wildcard of the week. And would you look at that, we've called up to our guest section of this show, because right now we're going to be chatting with Phil and Marv from Floya. A little bit of background on our today's guests. Floya is a German duo consisting of Phil Bayer and Marv Wilder, creating some of the most fun and uplifting rock music with EDM elements, which is kind of funny coming out of Phil being ex-vocalist of Time the Evaluator and Marv being the ex-guitarist of Alaska. The guys have already dropped 6 singles, and today we're going to talk about that and also the future music. These guys have one simple mantra, and it's there are no limits. These guys have been absolutely killing it throughout the most of 2022 and 2023 already with the new single. So please give them a warm welcome. This was an extremely exciting conversation to have, and I'm super happy that we got to speak together. So without further ado, here are the guests. So how's it going, guys? Welcome to episode 2. Welcome to the podcast, not podcast, I call it. How's it going? How's life? How's everything?
Can't complain, really. I mean, you know the drill. A lot of deadlines to keep. But still, we're fortunate enough that we can actually say that we're currently recording an album, which is obviously nice news. And there's a huge drop of a bomb right at the beginning.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I have like a very weirdly big following of you guys in my community. So people always, like, whenever Floya drops, everybody like gets super excited. So when I told them that I was gonna have you as my guests, everybody was like going crazy. So super exciting to have you guys. I mean,
to be here, honestly, because we enjoy your content quite a bit.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's strange because your guys' music style is, of course, very different than the usual angry, sad metal music that we all listen to. So, why do you think this kind of weird, different EDM, indie, rock type style connects with a lot of us so well?
I think it's about rhythm a lot, because sometimes, are you familiar with The Hymn, the song that we did? So after the second verse, or basically the second half of the second verse, follow, there's this kind of breakdown-esque kind of rhythm that is only carried by the drums. and that alone creates some kind of breakdown feel, if you will. There are no staccato guitars going on, whatever, no breakdown guitars. It's just Marv doing his funk thing all the time. So that kind of, you know, smoothens it out a little bit. But I get the feeling. I get the feeling of that because, you know, we honor where we are actually coming from, you know, because we grew up, we started our careers with, you know, heavy music. How we write as a whole is definitely still based in that.
I think that might be the main reason to also convince people that listen more to metal, because it's not that we do it on purpose. Say like, yeah, we come from a metal background, but I think it's the way we write, or we better say we used to write in our older projects. The way or our taste is still coming from that, but it's just a different, like, how do I say,
the dressing's different,
you
know.
Yeah, the dressing. That was the word I was missing.
Yeah.
How you design pants, basically.
Yeah, so for those watching and listening who don't know, obviously Phil and Marv, they come from bands Tim the Valuator and Alaska in the past. I guess the first like big question for you guys, coming from those heavy bands, like, how did you find this style? How did you move towards it? What kind of sparked this idea of creating this funky indie music?
I think for me personally, there was always the desire of getting a bit more into pop, even though even with back then in the days with Alaska, we were always those kind of pussies. A lot of people were telling us on live shows, oh, they're too soft, come on, I want some breakdowns, because we also didn't really have breakdowns. It was always desire to go into this direction, and now we have, for me, I have the option to just do whatever I want or what I like.
I think it's always been part of your DNA, because I know that you always longed to create something that would be more rooted in what you grew up listening to. For those who don't know, we grew up listening to Peter Gabriel, U2, Sting, all those kind of things. Yeah, it was something that we always desired to do, to have something that's a little more compatible. But then again, you know, the sound, when Marv and I started out, we went to Norway for close to 3 weeks just to figure each other out and see if the chemistry is working and see what we come up with. From there on out, we knew we wanted to do something that has a little bit of that pioneering spirit. So looking for that niche that's not too much out there, I would say. Original vision was just to fuse a fresh pop rock sound with world music and obviously electronic music, EDM, that we also love a lot. So we draw a lot of influence from that.
Moving on to Floya as a whole, the music so far that you've got, so 6 singles later. Yeah, you guys are, like you said in the beginning, are nearing a possible album release. So if you can tell us anything more about that, if not, then that's completely fine. But what can you tell us about it?
Something that I can say is that it's going to drop this year, but I can't really narrow down the time frame as of right now. We're definitely still working on it. There are 4 tracks to go. So we're currently finishing those. It's going to be 10 tracks in total. And yeah, hopefully that will create an exciting year of 2024.
You chose the single release approach, which has been something pretty prominent in the last couple of years in this scene, as opposed to, you know, 2-3 singles on the album release. What are your personal thoughts on releasing albums and music like that?
I mean, like, if you look at the music market of today, it's like there's everything, and the market is flooded with artists and bands. And I mean, even as a music consumer, it's quite hard to narrow down what am I actually going to take time to listen to. And therefore, I don't feel like it's a good thing when you're a newcomer and you're just putting an album out, because people get to choose somewhat. And if you spoon feed them with 1 track at a time, even if it's not their favorite track maybe by that band that they're then listening to, they're kind of quote-unquote forced to listen to that because there's nothing else. And it gives every track a chance, which is something that obviously we're putting the same effort in every song. And we feel like every song deserves a chance to be, you know, celebrated by the audience, even if it doesn't work as well as some other songs might do.
Plus, it's all about the momentum.
Right.
It's also still trying to keep feeding the algorithm, which is really, really important nowadays.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can tell that from the Spotify streams. I mean, we have like 3,000 followers on Instagram, but Spotify is way more, which is definitely a reason because of the algorithm that we keep feeding with those single releases. If we just put out a new album as a new artist especially, it would just drown.
That's true. Yeah, it's important to stay kind of relevant for prolonged periods of times. I almost refer to it as like prolonging the enjoyment of something, rather than just dropping an album in one single day, kind of like stretching it out for a long. So yeah, I totally agree. Even like in our community, we have some people who are like, I don't like that I hear the whole album before it's even out. But I definitely do think like what you said there with small artists is super important.
Yeah, that's the main difference. I mean, big artists can allow to just say, there's a new album coming and it's out now. Like, that's the announcement, and then it's just out. That works for big artists. But yeah, for small artists like us, especially nowadays, it's very hard.
I think realistically, if you were to encounter an artist and that artist has an album out, and realistically, how much time are you investing in each track if you skip through them? It's like 20 seconds max. And if it doesn't catch you, then it's going to be forgotten. And that's kind of, work that has been put into those skipped songs that's just lost. That's an unfortunate thing, I feel. So we're trying to keep the modern day's attention span in mind.
So more on actual music and writing process. So what is usual or unusual about how you write Floya songs that may be similar or very different from how you wrote songs in the past?
I think the biggest relief, especially for Marv, was that he used to be one of the head songwriters of Alaska, and you had that firm layout of the band where you have two guitarists, a bassist, a drummer, two singers, and you would have to provide material for every single band member, give them something to do, so to speak. And with being a duo, that kind of falls away a little bit. So that means, the only things that we have to take care of is guitars and vocals, and all the other instruments, they're pretty much optional, because there's no one waiting to have some parts, but we can just do whatever we feel like, basically. So that kind of frees us to do whatever we want.
The freedom is what's totally different compared to our older projects. I think that, that's the main difference. And the writing process in general is always very different. Sometimes it starts with the vocal idea, sometimes it starts with just the backing track, it's just some chords. Sometimes it starts with a guitar lick, it's just
even a loop sometimes.
Or just a beat. It can be anything, as Phil said. That's a good reason for us to decide to stick as a duo. Because when we started, of course, we were also thinking about, okay, who could we ask for guitar, who could we ask for bass and stuff. And then we just noticed, maybe we just don't ask anyone and just try to rather work with some sub basses instead of just we always record a bass,
a real one,
a real bass, and then we just decide, okay, do we stick to some electronic bass sounds, or do we just keep the real bass? Of course, like modern heavier bands like Bring Me the Horizon have the same approach, because they also decide a lot for sub and electronic basses and elements.
And to double down on what Marv just said, especially when it comes to writing for Floya, I mean, obviously you said it in a lot of reactions already, that the music is very uplifting, something that we didn't really do in the past in our previous projects. That was very cathartic to me, but it was also very challenging, because I don't know if anyone who's listening has ever checked out the last album that I did with Time Evaluator, but if you take a closer look to the lyrics, or at the lyrics, it's really dark, because I remember sitting down with my dad listening to that album, and he was reading the lyrics while the songs were playing, and he was like, do we need to talk? And that was kind of where I was coming from. And we started with Wonders, obviously, and Wonders was so against what I've been used to, but it was also kind of freeing, because it kind of forced me to focus on the positive sides of writing lyrics, and concentrating on hope as a feeling. And we all know and love that feeling when we look back on our childhood. For example, I always feel like when you're a child growing up, you think like the world's open to you and you've got every chance in the world to become whatever you want to be. And as you grow older, that kind of leaves you a little bit. At least it left me. But I always love looking back on that and trying to, copy that feeling and bring it back. So it's, as I said, very cathartic.
That's why Floya music feels so nostalgic. You just realized.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's obvious. It's kind of sound choice too. I mean, if you look at Marv's guitars, for example, that Fender Ultra Strat that he plays, it sounds really vintage and really 80s sometimes. If you put some reverb on that and a little bit of chorus, it's bound to have that 80s sound. But then again, it's kind of his signature too. I mean, he has some modern effects as well, but I think overall you can really hear that.
No, like on a little tangent too, all the music videos have had this beautiful aesthetic. A lot of floral stuff, a lot of colors.
For the both of us, it's kind of like when you create a concept for a music video, it's kind of like giving a song a face.
Yep.
And if the first exposure to a song is through video and audio, it's so vital that both elements are really in harmony with each other. Yeah, it's like copying that and putting it in another dimension, basically. So yeah, that's where a lot of that comes from, I guess. But you know what, Bogdan, what's kind of sad is that people kind of stopped watching videos a lot. I mean, I feel that too, because as a music consumer, as well as an artist, I kind of stopped consuming music videos. It's kind of, you create a music video so that if people look for it, they will find something. But then again, it's not a medium that is really consumed constantly or regularly, I feel. But still, it's really important, especially if you want people to connect with the people behind the music.
Definitely. That was the main reason why we decided to put out a video for every single that we've done so far.
Coming back to singles, my favorite single is probably Wonders. But that's kind of unfair because that's the first single and I've had the most time with it. But what about you guys? If you had to choose one, what is each one of yours favorite song so far, released or unreleased?
You're gonna start on this.
I think it's Willows for me, because it shows the most unique side of Floya, I guess. Especially for me with the EDM side that we're still trying to figure out, to be completely honest. None of us has experience with EDM productions and stuff like that, and Willows was the first one. When we got the final mix, all of us were like, yes, that's it. That's the sound we try to achieve. I love the mixture of the pure rock elements and then having the song switching to full EDM.
It's very similar. For me, it's a tie. I'd have to agree with you because Wonders kind of put us on the map as an act, and also it was my first experience writing for Floya, and halfway through the writing process I kind of felt relieved, and I felt like this, exactly what we're doing here, is what I've been always supposed to do. And so it's kind of a tie, because I think if you look at Floya's current DNA, I think Wonders and Willows encapsulate that the most. I would say that, yeah. So basically Wonders and Willows are on one level for me.
You guys played a couple of shows August last year, if I'm not mistaken. That was like the first time you played these songs live. How was that experience, playing such different music live to people?
I think we have two very different opinions on that.
I don't know. Of course, you have to get used to it. If you create a new project, have already written a few singles, and then yeah, you get challenged by putting that into a live set together.
It was really about developing two frontman personalities, so to speak, because, there's nothing else that would take your eyes off us. I was actually pretty scared to get back on stage, and especially in that scenario where, you'd have live drums, yeah, but it's a percussive instrument. It's not a melody instrument. So the only quote-unquote live played elements that there are vocals and guitars. So that's quite challenging if you're singing to a perfectly tuned backing track as a human or play to it. So it's been scary, but I think I lost my fear to that after a couple shows. But man, walking up on stage after 4 years of absence and then performing a Floya set, I was sweating bullets, honestly.
So my follow-up to that is, when are you coming to Canada? When can I see you in person?
Whenever we get the chance, to be honest.
That's true. That's true. Actually, Canada and obviously Brazil is being requested a lot. As of right now, it's probably going to take a while, but still, we are very, very much interested in coming to Canada, especially considering that it's a very, very beautiful country.
Alrighty, I have a couple of more rapid fire questions. These are like super short, fun questions, so take as much or as little time answering them as you want. But the first one is, what is the dream feature for Floya?
Oh, the list is long.
Pick top
true.
3.
Well, for me, it's probably very clear. I have developed a very, very strong love for Porter Robinson over the course of the last 2 years. So I think his approach with electronic music is one of a kind, and the melodies that he crafts is something that I can't really get tired of. So I would love to have him contribute. So if you're listening to this, Porter, please call.
I think I'm gonna pick the Midnight because I would love to combine the Floya style with their amazing synthwave.
They're pretty influential on us, I'd say. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
All right, what are your guys' childhood albums? Pick one childhood album that you grew up with.
Easy. Peter Gabriel's Secret World Live. That was the first album that I've been exposed to, and it made me the way I am today. So that album made me pursue music as a career. There's nothing more to add on that. If you haven't listened to it, Bogdan, I haven't.
I'm ignorant. I'm sorry.
Pure happiness. It's also a Blu-ray, so basically it's a live concert that happened in the year 1993. Spectacular. I mean, it's almost like a theatrical piece. So I have annoyed the hell out of Marv with that Blu-ray. So he knows it inside out by now as well. What's your take?
I just have to look up the album from Coldplay where Clocks is on.
Yes, A Rush of Blood.
It's A Rush of Blood to the Head by Coldplay. I had to look it up, to be honest.
All right, I got a last question for you, and this one, you'll be locked in the room for a couple of minutes, full of spiders, really like nasty big ones. Would you rather have the lights on or off?
Absolutely on.
You would like to see
No
all of
doubt
it.
about that. I mean, obviously it adds to the fear factor if you can see them, but I also think if you have the lights out, it's even. I mean, you're completely gonna be lost. You're gonna feel lost in the room.
Ignorance is not bliss in that case.
No, in that way not, because if I feel them crawling over my head, I'm gonna scream like a little girl. Probably.
Now that you put it like that, yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with you.
How about you with spiders?
Depending on the size, but I'd rather say yes than no, because
I mean,
small ones I really don't care about, but
the big ones,
the bigger ones, especially when you're talking about Australia. Yeah, yeah. Same
Notorious. Well, guys, thank you so much for making the time to sit down with me, chat a bit about your music, about your band. The Willows is out now, the most recent single on all platforms, so everyone watching, hearing, and checking this out, check out Willows. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
Of course,
We
anytime.
appreciate you a lot.
You're welcome back on the channel anytime.
Maybe when the album's out or something,
Yes.
we get to talk again.
We could do something
You
for
know,
that.
having a deep dive on what you severely dislike or something.
I hate this Floya album.
I'll sit down with you anytime, even to talk about that.
Well, thank you guys so much. Everybody, say goodbye to Floya. And yeah, guys, good luck on the rest of your album journey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Bogdan.
man.
All right.
See you soon.
Look
See ya.
forward to talking again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
My life.
Amazing Phil and Marv from Floya. Another round of applause for them. While we wrap up, let's take a look at the absolutely randomly chosen funny comment of the week that passed. Bog cry equals good. Tyler, why do you like to see me cry? Well, anyways, yet another Late Night HXC has come to its logical conclusion, and I appreciate you guys sitting down with me, or laying down with me, or standing up with me, checking out all these news, all these releases, all these tour announcements, and of course, the chat with Floya. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode. Let me know in the comments what you think overall of this format if you have any additional thoughts to the first episode, now in the second one. And of course, don't forget to answer the question of today, which is, what is that one popular band that you never were able to get into? But that is all from me. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, commenting. All of that stuff extremely helps my channel. And of course, how can I forget? Thank you so much for 80,000 subscribers. It's just a number, but it means a lot to me that this channel keeps growing, and it's a blessing to be doing this. I appreciate you guys. Have a good night, have a good day, have a good rest of your whatever it is. But this was Lnhxc, and I will see you in the next one.